In this video, you'll learn how poetry can help you gain self-esteem, a positive attitude, problem-solving skills, and deeper connections with others. And I'll tell you what you can do to start incorporating it into your day. What's up, friends? Welcome to Literally Everyone, where we make literature our life and our life into literature. My name is Igor Noblad. I'm a Venezuelan-born, American-made writer, former teacher, and former chef. Today I'm going to show you why and how poetry works to promote essential skills and traits like self-esteem, positivity, critical thinking, and deeper social connections. Whether you've clicked on this video because you love poetry, hate it, are indifferent to it, or are curious about it, I know if you pay careful attention, you'll find something that resonates with you. So let's start by checking out how poetry actually works. We can get a clue from the quote at the beginning of this video. My former poetry professor and former Utah Poet Laureate Paisley Rectal said it in one of our college workshops. Humans' strong suit is not probability, but pattern finding. It seems simple, but it actually contains a lot of truth. You see, while logic is how we create progress as human beings, pattern finding is how we create stability. Through schedules, routines, habits, we understand and manage ourselves and our circumstances. Since poetry is all about pattern finding, reading and writing can help us understand the patterns around and inside of us. We see our habits and mistakes and triumphs and start to notice the tapestry that is us. We see past the blue sky and through the day's storms and start to look with awe and wonder at everything. And by pushing us to find these patterns and create our own, we start to figure out how to solve the riddles that keep us turning and turning. Then we share our findings with others and boom, we have human connection. Sounds pretty good, right? All of us, whatever our circumstances, need to see ourselves and the world positively to be happy. All of us need to know how to solve problems because life is full of them. And all of us need connections with other people. We are healthier and happier when we have connections. But why don't we check out some statistics? Everyone loves numbers. This study showed us that the brain can detect poetic harmonies and patterns even when the reader has not read much poetry before. One of the reasons might be because our natural speech uses patterns of stressed and unstressed syllables, patterns of vowels and consonants, patterns of words and phrases, and even deep inside of us, right here in our center, is a constant reminder that we live and breathe in patterns. And if patterns are so integral to our existence, then we don't need to understand a poem in order to enjoy its patterns. In one study, recited poems elicited strong emotional responses, even goosebumps, in 77% of participants that had little exposure to poetry before. These kinds of responses activate the frontal lobe and the ventral striatum of the brain, which are involved with feelings of reward and pleasure. This is why reading a poem can make us feel good without us knowing why. But even past this elusive benefit, when we write poetry, we inevitably feel a pleasure in our accomplishment. Writing is tough, and putting words together, especially ones that look and sound good, even short verses, can give us a great sense of satisfaction. In a 2016 study, both music and poetry produced a similar improvement in the pain intensity of patients. The two therapies also affected depression scales, and only poetry increased hope scores. In a similar one, done in 2015 for hospital pediatric patients, poetry intervention led to statistically significant reduction in fear, sadness, anger, worry, and fatigue. These are just two empirical examples that showed us how being involved with poetry can help people, especially those who have gone through illness or trauma, to feel more positive about themselves and the world around them. But even if you're not struggling with an illness or trauma, life can be tough, and poetry can help work through those things. In this study, they discovered that there is no difference between perceived and actual isolation when it comes to the effects on mortality. People can suffer even if they think something is wrong. Now real quick, if you're enjoying the video, please hit that like and subscribe. Another benefit of poetry is that it helps us to develop problem-solving skills. It is well known that math helps us to do this, but writing does as well. It helps us to gain consistency, creativity, and critical thinking. Now I'm going to talk more in depth about this in future videos, but let me just tell you as a writer that most other writers find joy in tackling writing as problems to solve. The problem of what to say, how to say it, when and to whom. It's a difficult process, which is why many people are turned off by writing, but it is also incredibly rewarding. And this doesn't just happen to writers. In this article from the University of Delaware, Professor Miller Dugan claimed that poetry can be especially useful for science-minded students. Scientists are very linear in the way they're trained. A goes to B, goes to C, and you're looking for X, Y, Z outcome. It's all fairly straightforward. The problem is that the world doesn't work that way. It's not a straight line. So giving them the opportunity to function in zigzags and leaps is ultimately going to benefit their capacity to function as scientists and to trust their instincts. Now the final benefit of poetry is that it promotes human connection. That connection can be physical through getting together with a writing group of friends, of family to share your verses, or it could be emotional from hearing the voices of others who have gone through similar situations as yours. In any case, poetry is the catalyst for these bonds. Psychiatrist Robert Carroll, who's been treating patients for years with poetry, believes that what is most personal is most universal. There is power in hearing and reading experiences of others which connect to our own. Carroll also came to the conclusion that expressive writing is a natural healing process. This is especially true for people who have gone through trauma, which changes not only the way we think, but the way our brain works, desensitizing us at times and shutting down the Broca area of our brain, which helps us to put thoughts and feelings into words. It's not surprising then that through one of the most traumatic times in recent years, the COVID-19 pandemic, poetry increased in popularity. At a time when we were all isolated, poetry helped us to connect. In fact, in one experimental study where a website was published to determine how people felt and used poetry during the pandemic, 68% of respondents said that poetry helped them to feel closer to other people. This is interesting, since out of all the reasons people listed for using the website, only 31% said they were interested in engaging with others. Now, if you're comfortable, take a second and share in the comments below one difficult thing you experienced during COVID. Okay, so if after all this you're still thinking, oh well, that's nice, but I don't have time and poetry is too difficult anyway, consider these other benefits which I have found as a student, a teacher, a husband, and a father. Poetry is short. Compared to novels or nonfiction, you can read most poems in under a minute. Poetry helps us regulate emotions, which is useful if you're under stressful circumstances at work or with your children at home. Poetry helps us slow down, be mindful, and reflect. Finally, poetry can give us wisdom and appreciation for the beauty that is in the world. So there's really no reason not to do poetry. Literally everyone can be a poet. So hit up your local bookstore for some classics, scroll the web for some good verses, and subscribe to this channel to learn how to read, write, and incorporate poetry into your life. That's my tip for you. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, words, like food, nourish. See you next time.